Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Tampa Bay. How the hell are we today, man? I mean, good Lord. Yeah, it's been a week. I apologize. It's been longer than I wanted it to be, but COVID's a pain in the ass. But yeah, we're here. We're live. Channelside in the morning is back. I apologize for those who missed us. Shout out to you, loose cannon leprechaun. But things happen, man. We're we're an upstart company. I don't have guys that I can just say, hey, I need you to fill in on the morning show. I don't have that, unfortunately. We will though. We will, but I digress. And here we are. We're doing what we can do. And just kind of rolling with the punches. Thank you to everybody that is tuning in. Of course, if you're on the YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button. Hopefully you guys have been tuning into the main event. 2 episodes deep, live on Tuesday. Radio John and Primetime Pelly live at 8 p.m. Of course, we've got Channelside Bets with Evan, Nikki, and Chip live every Sunday at 11:30 to get you guys honed in and ready to win your DFS lineups. But it feels good to be back. It does. For an array of reasons. It really does. It feels great to be back. But we've got a great show lined up today. I want you guys hopping in the chat. I want you tagging friends on Twitter, tagging friends on Facebook, letting them get in this, hop on the chat, because I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear your pick'ems, because we're going to do pick'ems. It's Thursday. I mean, that's what we do. You have to do pick'ems on Thursdays. You can't do pick'ems on a Friday because Thursday is the first game of the week. If you're going to join a pick'em pool, you're already a game behind. So we're doing it on Thursday, damn it. Thank you. I'm glad I survived as well, Scanning Leprechaun. Bolts Media Day was yesterday, which means, holy crap, we've got 20 days left until the NHL season starts. How insane is that? I mean, absolutely ridiculously stoked. We need to look at the Rays, man. The Rays playoff road is going to be a very bumpy one. I mean, they're sitting in the second wild card spot right now. I think they've got like a 97% chance, but it's a very uneasy 97% chance, especially when we saw what the Houston Astros did to them over the weekend. I don't even know what the hell the days of the week are. Last thing I knew is I did a show on Thursday, and now here we are another Thursday, and it's been a whole week. What the hell? But yeah, that road's going to be a little bit bumpy. We'll talk about that if we have a little bit of time. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, please. Let's get into NFL Pick'ems for Week 3. Of course, tonight we start off with the 1-1 Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to the 1-1 Cleveland Browns on Amazon Prime. If you're tuned in right now, and hell, even if you're tuned in later on throughout the day, I'll check the comments. How was your Amazon Prime stream? I'm seeing a lot of people saying that their Prime stream wasn't good. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, I think my Prime stream was absolutely fantastic with absolutely no issues whatsoever. Arguably the most crystal clear picture I've ever streamed, especially of a sport. Maybe a 4K or UHD Netflix show, whatever. But in terms of like the quality of what we saw last week on Prime, I was very, very impressed with what we saw. So I'm curious to know, because we have Frontier internet at home, like 600. We're supposed to have a gig, but we don't have a gig. But that's a story for another day. But we're supposed to, I thought my stream looked great. And then I'm looking at other people. Some people were saying that they looked good as well. And then other people were saying it looked terrible. Like it was snowy. All of these things that you kind of don't really expect with a stream. It was almost like a cable broadcast with like, remember back in the day when like the coax would get a little loose or something, you'd have to like kind of fidget with it. I know I'm dating myself, but I don't care. But yeah, anyway, let me know what you guys thought of the stream on Amazon Prime because I thought it looked great. I enjoyed the presentation of it. I thought it was just, I did think it was a little weird seeing so many Amazon commercials like during the commercial break. But I mean, that's kind of expected. It's on Amazon's platform. They're going to advertise their products. But it was just it was a weird dynamic of, hey, watch this live stream with commercials, but it's really just going to feature our commercials. That to me was kind of like a Pleasantville experience, Truman Show experience. Who do I like in this game? Well, the Cleveland Browns are favored by 4.5 tonight. I think I do like Cleveland in this game. Nick Chubb is obviously on a tear right now. Their defense is playing well. Jacoby Brissett has come out and he's surprised a lot of people. I really, really, really do not like Matt Canada. I think Matt Canada is arguably, maybe not even arguably, maybe unanimously the worst offensive coordinator in the NFL. He looked terrible. Loose Cannon Leprechaun in the chat says Browns sneak a home game 20-18. That's kind of where I'm on I'm kind of on that line as well. I like Cleveland because I don't think it's a Mitchell Trubisky issue. I don't think it's like a Najee Harris is going to have a sophomore slump. I don't think it's anything like that. I think realistically, Matt Canada is just stalling the hell out of this offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers and their fans, and I don't think I don't like it. Plus, when you've got TJ Watt out, I mean, Nick Chubb's he's already forced more broken tackles, more missed tackles through the first 2 weeks than any other running back. And I don't see how that stops tonight. I don't. But I do like seeing Cleveland pick up the W at home on Thursday Night Football. And you'll have to excuse me. Duty calls. It's just water. It's just water. Promise. Maybe if it was a little later in the day, it wouldn't be just water, but you never know. Sunday slate, 0-1-1 Houston Texans traveling to Chicago to take on the 1-1 Chicago Bears. Should have been 2-0, man. They had the opportunity. They had the opportunity in Chicago to really knock out Green Bay with their. You knew that Green Bay was going to be a one-dimensional offense this season. You knew that the Green Bay Packers, sure, they have Aaron Rodgers. You have to account for Aaron Rodgers. Outside of one good Sammy Watkins catch, what did they do? Seriously, what did Green Bay do outside of one good Sammy Watkins catch? They didn't do anything through the air. You knew they were going to be one-dimensional, and you still couldn't stop Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And he lost because of it. I'm not sure if Justin Fields is the guy, by the way. Not really sure he's comprehending it. Now, I know he doesn't really have a lot of weapons, and I know that the Chicago Bears are excuse me. Chicago Bears are like $100 million lower in salary cap than some of the highest some of the highest teams. So they're really kind of playing Moneyball right now with their roster, which is cool because they're kind of figuring it out with a bunch of young guys. Make a little bit of noise, sign some free agents, make a couple trades. Now you've got something, but they've got a new GM. They've got all new coaching staff. I still like Chicago picking up the win at home against Houston. Houston's got some decent pieces. But for me, the alarming issue is that Brandon Cooks is leading the league in drops. That's the alarming issue for me is you went from being a top tier wide receiver with Brandon Cooks to like, who's Davis Mills really gonna? Davis Mills is gonna struggle now because his wide receiver one just can't seem to catch the ball. He's got the Robbie Anderson-itis. The 0-2. This is shocking. The 0-2 Las Vegas Raiders traveling to the 0-2 Tennessee Titans. The Raiders are favored by 2.5. I like the Raiders in this. I don't know why the Raiders shouldn't be 0-2. I know why they're 0-2, but they shouldn't be. They're way too good of a team to be 0-2. They need to learn how to close out games. They need to learn how to utilize the weapons that they have. You know, Hunter Renfrow with 2 unfortunate fumbles on back-to-back plays. Obviously, one was recovered, and then the next one was a pickup for return for the Arizona Cardinals, and they lost the game. But you've got Derek Carr, you've got Josh Jacobs, you've got Hunter Renfrow, you got Devontae Adams, you got Darren Waller. You've got a pretty damn good defense led by Max Crosby, and you're 0-2, and that to me is very shocking. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked that the Tennessee Titans are 0-2. I know last year the team was supposed to crumble when Derrick Henry went down. Somehow they found a way. They got it all together, and they finished number 1 in the AFC. Understandable, because they were already rolling, and they didn't have a difficult schedule to end the season. I've been telling people a lot. Evan's been telling people when he's coming in on the morning show, better watch out for the Jacksonville Jaguars, man. That's a team that's looking to make a statement. I think that team is looking to make a statement for a lot of reasons, and one of them is because of Urban Meyer. One of them is because of, hey, Urban Meyer really screwed the pooch with us. He really made us look like a circus. He made us look like a clown show. And I think the Jags are a team you're definitely going to want to watch out for. I do not like the Titans at home. I know the Titans are the underdog anyway, but I do not like the Titans at home because all they did was lose. They got Robert Woods. They haven't figured out how to use Robert Woods. They lost Julio. They lost A.J. Brown. You can't just lose guys and expect good things to happen, right? You can't expect to lose guys and to stay the course. That's just not how it works. Look at the freaking Arizona Cardinals, who we'll talk about later on in this slate. But you can't lose weapons, especially when you've got an inadequate quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill's not a serviceable quarterback. Jared Goff is a serviceable quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is a below-average quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo is a serviceable quarterback, who we'll talk about later on. But you've got to get Ryan Tannehill some legitimate threats at wide receiver. And, them not paying A.J. Brown was the best thing for the Eagles and the worst thing for the Titans. It really was. And, I understand why Titans fans were mad at A.J. Brown for leaving. But you've got to understand, guys, it's a business. It's a business. If they weren't going to pay him the money, he said, hey, I want you to trade me. They traded him. That's unfortunate circumstance, but that's how it works. Apparently not 100% still. 2-0 Kansas City Chiefs heading to the shockingly terrible Indianapolis Colts. Chiefs are favored by 5.5. Yeah, I don't like the Colts in this one either. I don't like I'm 2 for 2, 2-2 on the home teams. I do not like the Colts in this one. I think the Chiefs came out with a lot to prove. I think Patrick Mahomes wanted to say, hey, Tyreek Hill, a lot of the reason why he was good has to do a lot with me, not just him making me look good. And I think he has that chip on his shoulder. And the Chiefs are just firing on all cylinders. Defense looks good. Offense looks good. They're putting up points in bunches. And the Colts just can't quite figure it out. If Michael Pittman Jr. is out again on Sunday, the Colts are going to struggle to move the ball. And we saw it. We saw it against the Jags. We saw it. When you struggle to move the ball and you struggle, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have Matt Ryan, who was chucking the ball for 4,000 plus yards nearly every single season in Atlanta. Matt Ryan had a Roddy White and a Julio Jones, and he had a Calvin Ridley emerge, and he had a Russell Gage with almost 1,000 yards. Like, he had all of these great weapons around him. If Michael Pittman Jr. is out, he doesn't have that weapon. Jonathan Taylor is not going to catch 100+ yards every single game. So you have to be realistic. Like, in theory, it was great for Matt Ryan to go to Indianapolis. But in hindsight, what we know about the Colts is that a lot of their star players are injured, especially at the wide receiver, all the time. All the time. Colts favored by 5.5. Chiefs favored by 5.5. I like the Chiefs, man. I don't see any way that the Colts get it together and upset the Chiefs. You know, if we're talking about a 2-0 Chiefs and a 2-0 Colts, possibly. But the Colts are currently at worst case scenario, 0-1-1. Like, you tied your first game, you lost your second game. You might as well be 0-2 because that tie is going to come back to bite you in the butt. Buffalo, 2-0 Buffalo Bills traveling to the 2-0. 80% Danny is better than 100% Evan. You are goddamn right. 2-0 Buffalo Bills traveling to the 2-0 Miami Dolphins. This is going to be a testament for both teams, if I'm being honest. If I'm being completely honest, because we know that the Buffalo Bills, we know what they are. The Buffalo Bills are, without a shadow of a doubt, the AFC favorite to go to the Super Bowl. The Miami Dolphins, look, if you followed me through Gridiron on Tap, through that stint, I was very high on the Miami Dolphins when they signed Mike McDaniel. I knew Mike McDaniel was going to be an offensive-minded genius that was going to make Tua Tagovailoa look like a superstar quarterback, and I will be goddamned if Tua Tagovailoa does not look like a superstar quarterback through the first 2 weeks of this season. 6 touchdowns? Come on. He's now up there with Greasy and Marino for the most touchdowns in a Dolphin. Like, that's good company if you're a crappy quarterback. You don't just accidentally throw 6 touchdowns, right? I know there's guys on Twitter that are saying, "Oh, well, you know, he underthrew Tyreek, and if this guy turns around, that's a pick 6, and we're having a different conversation." But guess what? Tyreek Hill caught the ball and it was a touchdown. It doesn't matter what happens in hindsight. We're not talking hindsight. We're talking about the stuff that actually happens. And that actually happened. No, Mike McDaniel after the game. I love watching Mike McDaniel at a press conference. If you haven't, make sure you check him out. He's just like he's like the greatest. He looked at his team. He said, before the game, I told them, we're going to have to overcome some adversity. And I knew that we were going to, and I wanted to see how well we could respond. And apparently they took me very literal. I mean, you're 28 unanswered points for the W against the Baltimore Ravens, who are a playoff contending favorite, with future quarterback, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Lamar Jackson, still having a fantastic game and still looking like he's on an MVP tear for the season. Good on you, Miami. I gotta say, as much as I like what I'm seeing from the Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills have given me absolutely no reason to doubt that they're going to go undefeated as of right now. I know it's an overreaction through 2 weeks, but they've run over their first 2 opponents. They ran over the Tennessee Titans, who were the number 1 ranked team in the AFC last year. I know I said that they lost more than they gained in the offseason. They were still the number 1 ranked team in the AFC. They destroyed the Super Bowl champions in week 1. I mean, there's no reason right now in my mind to look at this Buffalo Bills team and doubt them versus any opponent as it is right now, because they're just running through no matter who it is. We'll have to see what happens on Sunday. This is probably going to be, it should be the best matchup of the day. But here's the thing. We thought that Buffalo and Tennessee was going to be a good matchup. We thought that Buffalo and Los Angeles was going to be a good matchup, and it wasn't. So maybe it's not going to be a good thing. Maybe it's not going to be a good matchup, and we're going to look and see another landslide victory in favor of the Buffalo Bills. I do like Buffalo in this one, though. I'm sorry, Miami. I just want Miami to come out. I want Tua to come out, and I want Tua to look good. That's the biggest thing for me. The 1-1. How about this? You already know I'm excited to talk about this. The 1-1 Detroit Lions traveling to the 1-1 Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are favored by 6.5, and I don't care. I'm going to take the Detroit Lions. The offense for the Detroit Lions might be the second most explosive offense behind the Miami Dolphins in the NFL right now. Ben Johnson knows what he's doing when he's calling. Ben Johnson is making Jared Goff look like a very good quarterback, like on the tier of tier 1, tier 2 kind of quarterback. Ben Johnson is making Jared Goff look like a great quarterback. DeAndre Swift, how many times have I told you guys DeAndre Swift is going to lead the NFC in rushing yards at the end of the season? He just wasn't utilized much in the running game against the Philadelphia. I'm sorry, not the Eagles. When the hell did the Lions even play last week? Good Lord. The Bucs should have. The Bucs should have. I don't know if I would use the word explosive when I talk about the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers will because nobody's really going to explode for the Bucs. Like Tyreek Hill explodes. Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift can explode. But Mike Evans is consistently going to give you 100+ yards. Chris Godwin is going to consistently give you 100+ yards. Like, I don't see ways of where you're like, oh, wow, Leonard Fournette bulldozed over everybody for 150 yards. Like, I don't see, like, the play calling is too conservative for Tampa. If that makes sense to you. I love I'm a huge Buccaneers fan. I've covered the Bucs for 4 years now, including they had Jameis. Excuse me. But yeah, I don't know if I would use the word explosive when I talk about the Buccaneers because the play calling doesn't allow them to explode. They allow them to be consistently good. But to me, when I talk, and maybe this is just the way that maybe it's a difference in utilization of the word. To me, explosion of offense is, oh wow, we weren't expecting that. Oh hey, there was a huge big play that came completely out of nowhere. Like we don't really expect that out of the Bucs. We expect the Bucs to put up 30 points a game. Unfortunately, they haven't done that yet. That's what we expect from this team. Exploding, like a Tyreek Hill. Like I'm gonna catch the ball on a on a flash route. I'm gonna flash towards Tua. I'm gonna catch the ball at the line of scrimmage. And I'm gonna break out for a 90-yard run. Like that to me, that's explosive. I don't know if we have anybody like that because I don't think that we do that. But yeah, I think that I know Kirk Cousins is not good on primetime games. And I think that that's the problem for the Vikings. So I'm not going to say that I'm completely down on the Vikings, but I do like what I'm seeing from the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions have, the second year under Dan Campbell are really starting to click. They're really starting to gel. And for a team that didn't really address the defense in the offseason, the defense has been looking. They're bend but don't break defense. I mean, this has been kind of the thing for Detroit for at least the last decade is play a bend but don't break defense. There was one time when they had Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley and Luis Delmas where they finished in the top 5. But other than that, they're usually a middle of the pack team. And, and you're looking and go, okay, well, as long as the offense can score more points, you should be good. And this offense has proved that they can start scoring a lot of points. Wait until you can get TJ Hawkinson in the mix. It looks like he's got some offseason rust. Wait till he gets in the mix, and the Detroit Lions team is going to be a very formidable team. I'm still very much on the NFC North is wide open train. I am. I don't think that the Green Bay Packers. I think that the Chicago Bears were very ill prepared to play the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night. I really do. I think that if you're the Chicago Bears, you look at the Packers and go, okay, they have a hobbled Alan Lazard. I don't think Randall Cobb even suited up, and if he did, he wasn't even involved. They had an injured, hobbled rookie Christian Watson. They have Sammy Watkins, who, sure, we'll make Sammy Watkins have to beat us. That's fine. Let's make Sammy Watkins have to beat us. He hasn't done that his entire career to anybody. So Chicago is ill-prepared. Not a fan of how Chicago's game plan was against Green Bay. And that's why I think the NFC North is wide open, because if you can stop the run in Green Bay, it doesn't matter. Stop the run in Green Bay, you're going to win. Their defense is fantastic in Green Bay. Don't get me wrong, especially their pass rush. Green Bay's got a top 10 pass rush. 1-1 Baltimore Ravens traveling to the 1-1 New England Patriots. Ravens are favored by 3.5. I like the Ravens in this one. I think Lamar Jackson is. Look, football's a lot about skill, and it has a lot to do with luck. I think Lamar Jackson, we all know, is a very skilled quarterback. But Lamar Jackson is also right now on the positive side of a lot of luck, because he bet on himself by rejecting the contract from the Baltimore Ravens. And he's put together a pretty solid start to his 2022 campaign. I just don't know who has answers for anything in New England. Like, we don't know who's calling the offense in New England. Yeah, they're 1-1, but like, I don't know. Matt Patricia, players are already soured on Matt Patricia again. Like, just, I feel like New England is on the verge of a collapse, is how I feel when I read things and when I look at how, and to me that's weird, because Bill Belichick is still there, Robert Kraft is still there. They still got the foundation together, but they've got no pieces. To me, it was like, even if Tom Brady didn't leave to sign elsewhere, you knew that eventually Tom Brady was going to retire, but you didn't do anything to surround yourself with talent for the future. You just solely relied on Tom Brady and Tom Brady alone for the most part. Like Julian Edelman retired, Gronk retired, Brady left, Gronk unretired, Julian Edelman stayed retired. But these are things that you could have changed and you could have adapted and looked and built towards the future, but they really didn't. Is Jacoby Myers going to be the guy? Doubtful. He's going to show up every handful of games, but you can't expect to win a lot of games passing the ball from Mac Jones to Jacoby Myers. They've got Ramondre Stevenson is a solid running back, but they don't really have any. They don't have any like sexy players in New England, right? Where you're looking and going, oh man, they don't have a Lamar Jackson. They don't have a J.K. Dobbins. Well, I guess the Ravens technically don't have a J.K. Dobbins right now either, but they don't have these guys. And you're looking and going, well, I don't know. It's not a fan of what's going on in New England. I like Baltimore in this one. I know that Bill Belichick is usually good against AFC rivals. Obviously, they're not division rivals, but AFC rivals. But I just like what Baltimore's doing. I think that allowing 28 unanswered points to the Miami Dolphins last week is going to, if that doesn't piss off a lot of the defenders for the Baltimore Ravens, then they've got a lot of soul searching to do. And this is going to end up being a long season for the Ravens. But I like what I'm seeing from the Ravens offensively, which is super strange because outside of Rashad Bateman is finally starting to emerge. They finally might have a wide receiver one for Lamar Jackson. Might. So we'll see. Mark Andrews is still getting it done. When they get J.K. Dobbins back, that's when we're going to talk about a Ravens team that's going to be getting it done on offense pretty regularly. The 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals traveling to the 1-1 New York Jets. I gotta be real that I'm very shocked at how terrible the Bengals have looked this season. Look, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think people were sleeping on the Steelers. You lose to the Steelers in overtime, sure. You lose to the Cowboys by a 50-yard field goal. I get it. But the Cowboys don't have an offense. Outside of an Ezekiel Elliott, who hasn't been himself for the last couple of years. I know last season he had the partially torn MCL. But outside of, like, you lost to Cooper Rush. You lost to a Cooper Rush-led Dallas Cowboys team. And you're fully healthy. Joe Burrow is on his ass more than he's on his feet. I thought the Bengals addressed the offensive line in the offseason. They stole Alex Kappa from us. It's such a weird dynamic for me of things that have gone on for the Bengals where they improved in the offseason, but they regressed on the field. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Maybe it is a Super Bowl hangover. T. Higgins has looked all right. Jamar Chase has looked all right. Joe Burrow has looked decent. Joe Mixon hasn't really gotten it done on the ground. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe the Cincinnati Bengals are becoming kind of one-dimensional and having to pass the ball. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe they can't really figure out a way to get it done on the ground right now. And that's really hampering them. I don't like... Look, at some point, Joe Flacco's got to come back down to earth. Is it cool to see Joe Flacco in the top 5 of passing yards at the ripe age of 110? Yeah, it is. It's super cool. That might be... Joe Flacco looks like he's like 3 times older than Tom Brady, and he's like 10 years younger than Tom Brady. I don't like the Jets at home in this one. I think the Bengals finally figure it out and they get it done. And if you're going to lose to a team like Pittsburgh, who is a likely playoff contender, and a team like Dallas, who is a likely playoff contender, and you're going to start the season 0-2 against 2 formidable opponents, sure. I know that you would have. I know that you would have preferred. I know you would have preferred to get a win, but unfortunately, if you can't get a win, now you're sitting 0-2, and you have to go into New York and you have to handle business against the Jets. The 2-0 Philadelphia Eagles are heading to Landover, Maryland to take... Is it Landover? I don't even remember exactly where it's at. To take on the 1-1 Carson Wentz Washington Commanders. Carson Wentz isn't a good quarterback. The Philadelphia Eagles are arguably the most well put together roster in the NFL. Eagles are favored by 6.5. I like the Eagles by any stretch of the imagination. I think everything that they're doing is just working. The defense is clicking and firing on all cylinders. You know, maybe when people look and they go, yeah, but they let 35 points in on the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have scored 30-plus points in both of their games. So maybe they just have an explosive and a powerful offense of, wow, these guys are putting up points in bunches. We didn't expect it. But the Eagles are putting up a lot of points. They're getting it done. Jalen Hurts is playing like a man possessed. I was clowned when I worked for USA Today, and we were previewing the draft. I remember saying, look, Justin Herbert, great pick. Tua, I think, is going to pan out for Miami, but I really think that the quarterback that everybody needs to talk more about is Jalen Hurts. And I got clowned by a lot of people about being so high on Jalen Hurts. Oh, he's a normal quarterback, blah, blah, blah. He was number one fantasy quarterback last year, and he's looking pretty damn solid this year as well. I like the Eagles in this one. Eagles haven't shown me any reason to doubt them, and Carson Wentz sucks. 1-1 1-1 New Orleans Saints traveling to Carolina to take on the 0-2 Panthers. Saints favored by 3.5. I like the Saints. You know, Saints have more weapons on offense than the Panthers do. The Panthers should have more weapons, but they haven't really put it together yet. And some of that might be on Baker Mayfield just not having the chemistry with some of the players. But I like the Saints in this one. I think the Saints' defense is what gets it done for them. I know, I know division rivalry games are always difficult. They're always tough, and they're always, even if they met, even if the Saints, let's say that this is way down the road, and let's say the Saints are 9-1, and the Panthers are 1-9. That doesn't mean that the Panthers are going to be a walk in the park, right? Like that's the beauty of these division rivalry matchups and these divisional games is that they're not easy. They're not easy walks in the park because you play each other twice a year, guaranteed, every single year. But I do like, having said that, I do like the New Orleans Saints over the Carolina Panthers. Panthers, sorry, you're still going to continue your skid. You're going to be 0-3 after this week. 1-1 Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to the 1-1 Los Angeles Chargers. I like the Chargers at home. Chargers are favored by 7.5. And look, if this game is in Jacksonville, I like the Jags. I think the travel, this is basically almost as far as you can get in terms of traveling. This is as far as you can get is Jacksonville, between Jacksonville and LA. But I like the Chargers because it's at home. I think it's going to be a close game. I think that, Justin Herbert's likely to play, but he's also playing injured. You got to remember too. So I do like Jacksonville a lot this season, and I think they keep it close and they keep it respectable. But I think the Chargers eke them out just solely because it is a home game. 1-1 Los Angeles Rams traveling to the 1-1 Arizona Cardinals. I don't like the Cardinals at all this entire season. Even after DeAndre Hopkins comes back, I'm not on the Cardinals at all. I think the Rams go into the desert. The Rams get the W. I like Kyler Murray, so it's not me slighting Kyler Murray. James Conner might be out. You can't rely solely on AJ Green to be your wide receiver. Not at this stage in his career. He cannot be your wide receiver one. AJ Green being your wide receiver one is like having Randall Cobb as your wide receiver one if you're the Green Bay Packers. You can't have an old man as your wide receiver one and expect good things out of your team offensively. You're just not going to be able to move the ball that well. If James Conner is out, they're going to have trouble moving the ball on the ground again. And I think this is just going to be actually be possibly one of the most lopsided games of the week. We'll leave it at that in favor of the Rams. 0-2 Atlanta Falcons traveling to the 1-1 Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are favored by 0.5 point. I like the Atlanta Falcons to pick up their first win of the season over the Seahawks. I do. I think the Atlanta Falcons are on the right track. I think Marcus Mariota has come in. He's done a formidable job. He's done decent. But I also don't think that Geno Smith is going to be able to get it done all season. I think that their one win, the win over Denver on Monday night, I think a lot of that had to do with Nathaniel Hackett not knowing how to call a game. Russell Wilson not taking any preseason snaps also was a large part that played a huge factor into why they were unable to move the ball offensively for for the Denver Broncos on that first Monday night game of the season. But I like Atlanta. I like what Atlanta's put together. I think they're a very underrated team. I think the Falcons might be more underrated than the Jags. I think more people are expecting better things from the Jaguars than they are from the Falcons this year. And I think that's what makes a team dangerous, is when you don't expect a team to play and perform well, and then they actually come out and they say, no, guys, we're not that bad. I assure you, we're not that bad. Which brings us to America's Game of the Week. 1-1 Green Bay Packers traveling down here to face our 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look, this is going to be a tough game. We have to be completely realistic here. This is going to be a difficult game for the Buccaneers because Green Bay's defense thrives where we are currently struggling offensively, right? That, to me, that is where it's going to be. It's a little scary. If we're being honest, it's a little scary. If you're looking at the Buccaneers not going to have Mike Evans, the Buccaneers should not have Chris Godwin. Remember, he was projected to be out 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and you don't want to test a hamstring. You don't want to test the hamstring because that's going to linger all season long, because soft tissue injuries are a pain in the ass to recover from. Russell Gage is a testament to that. He had that in training camp, and he's still struggling with it, and we're heading into week number 3. We've got to be realistic about the hamstring issues. And we as Bucs fans know that. Because it's not a Tampa Bay Buccaneers season without a wide receiver pulling a hamstring. Bucs Time 12 says in the chat, we only win if we stop the run, and we did that better last year. And that's the thing, is I think we were better at run stopping last year, and the Packers are better at running this year. And that, to me, is where it's going to be scary. But the Chicago Bears, here's the thing that makes me feel better. Todd Bowles is one of the better defensive-minded head coaches in the NFL. He saw the formula that the Chicago Bears laid out last week on how to beat the Green Bay Packers. Because if you look at the injury report, I put it out on channelsidesports.com. If you look at the injury report for the Green Bay Packers, they're just as depleted at wide receiver as we are. They're even more one-dimensional now. Because here's the thing is, sure, we could be without Godwin and Evans and possibly without Julio Jones. That was the Wednesday injury report. You still have today, you still have tomorrow. If we can get limited practices, at least for Julio Jones today, and a full practice tomorrow, that makes me feel better. But we've still got the addition now of Cole Beasley. Is Cole Beasley going to be, is he going to come in and have like a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman? Who knows? His practice yesterday was a complete cluster, man. Fumbled a punt return, got his helmet blown off. COVID's killing me. Slowly but surely. But we have Brashad Perriman, and we've seen Brashad Perriman step up. We've seen Brashad Perriman step up when called upon. And I'm not talking about just the catch last week. We've seen it over the years. Brashad Perriman steps up when it comes out. I'm hoping that I'm hoping he's healthy. Obviously, logging a DNP yesterday is not what you want to see on the first injury report of the week. So, we'll keep an eye on it today. Hopefully he at least gets a limited practice in. Because if you can disguise, the Packers aren't very good at stopping the run. If you've got a Julio Jones and a Cole Beasley out on the field, you have a better looking offensive weaponry than the Chicago Bears did at any point during their Sunday night game against the Packers, right? Like nobody's really scared of Darnell Mooney. Nobody has to respect a Darnell Mooney yet. You have to respect a player like Julio Jones, and you have to respect a player like Cole Beasley as well. So you have to make sure that you're looking at these guys, which could then in turn open up the floodgates for Leonard Fournette. You know, we could see a Leonard Fournette century mark by halftime if they play it properly, because we saw the formula, and that's the key part. We know Todd Bowles is an extremely smart head coach. Dang. We know Todd Bowles is an extremely smart head coach. He's a very good defensive-minded head coach. So if he's looking and going, okay, well, the Packers struggled passing the ball against the Bears. We've got the number one graded secondary coverage unit in the NFL. I'm not really worried about Aaron Rodgers in this game. I'm really not. And look, and you can give me a healthy Allen Lazard and a healthy Randall Cobb and a healthy Sammy Watkins. All of those guys were limited as well. Give me a healthy Green Bay current core of wide receivers in Green Bay, and I'm still not worried about them. And that's not even if I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's if I'm any defense with a formidable secondary. I'm not worried about the Green Bay Packers right now. I would have Vaughn ready to go in this game. Rashad is not hitting. Rashad is doing this weird dance, a very Le'Veon Bell-esque dance when he gets the ball in the backfield, and it's not really hitting. I do think that putting in Keyshawn Vaughn, I think, is smart. But I also think that it could be beneficial to getting Rachaad White in this game a lot as well, to try and get him to get something to click, because it's not quite there yet. And it's not something that we've ever seen from him, because if you followed him in college, he wasn't doing this dance behind the offensive line. He was hitting the ball. He was hitting the hole. Hand off, hit the hole. Hand off, hit the hole. Now he's not really doing that, and I'm not really sure why. We have to protect Tom Brady in this. That's the big thing for me, is you've got a top 10 pass rushing defense in the Green Bay Packers coming to town. You've got Aaron Rodgers, who is in the bottom 3 in terms of average time to throw. You've got to make sure that you're protecting Tom Brady, because he's not going to scramble. Tom Brady's not scrambling. He's just not. We've got to make sure that we are protecting Tom Brady, and he is right side up rather than laying on his backside. He's got to be vertical to be a threat. And that's the key for him, is protecting Tom Brady and running the ball. Like I said, I'm not worried in the least bit about any of the wide receivers for Green Bay. They haven't shown us any reason to be concerned about them either. So I like Tampa 3-0 starting the season, 1-2-1, which I really think that 3-0 for the. I think 3-0. 3-0 is the best case scenario to start the season if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because we all knew that this 4-game gauntlet to open the season was going to be difficult. And everybody was saying, well, if you can come out and you can win 3 games, if you win your first 3 games, then, the rest of the season is not that difficult. I mean, if we're talking about Mike Evans, look, and here's the best part for the Bucs. And I'll briefly foreshadow this. If we're looking at a Buccaneers team that is going to start out the season 3-0, and then they're going to host the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're going to have Mike Evans back, and they should have Chris Godwin back, and they should have Julio Jones back, and they still have Cole Beasley now. And Russell Gage hopefully is going to start overcoming the hamstring. We're looking at a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that will be at full offensive power while still having one of the best, and I have to, be realistic when I foreshadow. When I say still having one of the best in week 4, because we don't know. We can predict, and we can do pickums, and we can dissect and use analytics and stats all we want. But something could happen on Sunday. You never know, right? The Bucs can still get the win, but they could give up a lot of yards, and they don't have the number 1 secondary things can happen, right? That's why we love the game. But if we foreshadow, you could have one of the best secondary. You could still have the top secondary in the league. If they can stop the run against Green Bay, because we know that Green Bay is currently a one-dimensional offense. If they can stop the run against the Green Bay Packers, you're now talking about a top 6, depending on how effective they are stopping the run. But if they stop the run based off of the numbers, we're looking at a top 6 run stopping defense, the number 1 pass coverage unit in the NFL, and a fully healthy arsenal of weapons on offense for Tom Brady as we invite the Kansas City Chiefs into Raymond James Stadium next Sunday. Just saying. We're talking about hopefully winning 3 out of the 4. How about winning 4 out of the 4? How about that? Because that's a realistic thing for us. Bucks Time says we have the best wide receiver. Oh yeah, that's not without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. And I think the Buccaneers had the best wide receiving core before they even signed Julio Jones. I think Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Russell Gage were the best wide receiving trio in the NFL. Simply because Tyler Boyd is coming down, because he's on the opposite side of Father Time's spectrum in terms of his career. And Russell Gage is still excelling, and he's still propelling towards his prime. Add in Julio Jones, who was still clocked as the fastest Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver during training camp. You got to remember that. Ripe old man Julio Jones. And if you're on the Julio hate bandwagon, get off of it, man. He's part of the Buccaneers now. Crying about him. Oh, he's often injured. He hurt the knee. Oh, God, typical Julio. He's always hurt. Shut up. Move on. We don't want to hear it. We don't need your negativity formulating opinions around our team. Get out of here. Don't call yourself a Buccaneers fan if you're just going to cry about our players. Same thing with the Devin White haters from last year. Sunday Night Football, San Francisco 49ers traveling to the Denver Broncos. 1-1 against 1-1. This is a tough one to call. The 49ers are favored by 1.5, and I feel like I have to take the 49ers in this game because the Broncos have just looked really crappy. They've looked like garbage all season. I know, whatever. 2 games is all season, but it's still in 2 games they've looked bad in both games. It's not like they got like a decisive win in game 2, right? And if they would have beat the Seattle Seahawks on Monday night in week 1, it wasn't a pretty win anyway. I don't like what I'm seeing for the Denver Broncos. This was a team last year that was heralded as a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender by damn near every outlet. They got their quarterback, and they're worse. and and it has to do with Nathaniel Hackett. It does. I think Nathaniel Hackett can't. I'm going to do it, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to do it. I think Nathaniel Hackett can hack it, man. He can hack it as a head coach in the NFL. At least he's not proven it yet. He's called terrible offenses. And this was the guy who was calling great offenses in Green Bay for such a long time. I don't know if the pants are too big, the shoes are too big. I'm not sure what it is. But Nathaniel Hackett is not getting it done in Denver right now. I like the 49ers. I think Jimmy G's revenge tour continues. And he plays to either stay, and and of course by stay I mean stay in San Francisco and say, hey, Trey Lance has been here for 2 years and both years he's been injured. What about old faithful Jimmy G here? Still handsome, still getting it done. Surround me with talent and I can get the dub. Monday Night Football. 1-1 Dallas Cowboys traveling to the 2-0 New York Giants. Giants are favored by 1.5. I got to tell you, I like the Giants on Monday Night Football. It's not going to be a pretty game, but the Giants are just figuring out ways to get it done. They're 2-0. Brian Daboll came in. And look, their number one wide receiver in Kenny Golladay cleaned out his locker after they won. Kenny Golladay, I've been saying this since Kenny Golladay was in Detroit. Kenny Golladay is mentally an absolute bum for a professional athlete. He is mentally fragile. And I'm not saying this in terms of not condoning. I got to make sure that I word this properly. I'm not talking about like mental awareness. I'm talking about in terms of being a competitor. He is not a competitor. Kenny Golladay does not have the mindset to be a professional athlete because he is not a competitor. He's shown it now for 2 seasons with the New York Giants, and he showed it the beginning of his career as a Detroit Lion. He is not the guy. So the Giants are getting it done without wide receiver 1. Saquon Barkley is playing like he's on a contract year. How do you go? It's crazy, right? Who would have thought a player on a contract year is getting it done? Right? It's crazy. But I think the Giants start 3-0 to the season. I think Saquon gets it done against Dallas. Look, Daniel Jones is showing that he's shown us that he's a serviceable quarterback, and he can get it done when needed. And he can. That's it for the Pickums this week, guys. That's it. We've picked them all. I appreciate everybody that tuned in this morning and dealt with my... I didn't realize, I thought I was feeling better. I didn't realize, how short of breath I am, how much I'm struggling to breathe. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me through the sniffles and the coughs. And yeah, hopefully tomorrow will be better. I don't know if you got any COVID remedies, slide in my DM and let me know. I've heard about lemon and steam and honey. Let me know, guys. I'm gonna be back unless something crazy happens today. I'll be back. We'll wrap up the week tomorrow. Talk about what happens tonight and Thursday Night Football against between the Steelers and the Browns. But thank you for everybody that was tuning in. Please make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Hopefully you enjoyed the show today and you could get past all of the sickness in the air. Hopefully you don't catch it through osmosis. This is Channelside in the Morning. I am Danny. Make sure you follow us on all of the social media platforms. Just search for the Channelside Sports Network. We are Tampa Bay's next generation of sports talk. Channelside in the Morning. I will see you tomorrow.